is we significantly saved on the purchase of the building. Should there be any money left over after the cleanup of the property, should it come from town, from that $740,000 that has already been approved, there may be about $100,000 to $120,000 left of that 740. That 740 already went to bonding because it was so long ago. So we have, that money that we are paying principal and interest on that's already been approved by the taxpayers. But in our referendum from 2010, it didn't say purchase, cleanup, and beautification. And what we're asking this commission to consider is to take the remaining amount, which again has already been bonded, and spend it on the property that it was intended for the beautification, for the building of the walkways and planting of the grass. This draft you have in front of you, and by the way, it will cost more than $100,000. The Lions, the Rotary, the East Lyme Public Trust have also stepped up to the plate, as they did last year with the band shell, and have offered to raise funds, private funds, for the development of this park. This is a draft form that is being put together by a subcommittee made up of Lions, Rotarians, East Lyme Public Trust, Niantic Main Street, the Parks and Rec Commission, Board of Selectmen, First Selectmen, and staff, and a landscape architect. Thank you. All sit on this commission. And this, it's not a big piece. There's not a lot of thought that has to go here, other than the original draft that we looked at several years ago had a lot of parking in it. It was determined that green space would be a lot better, that there's plenty of asphalt downtown, and that this is a park that really is a nice vista, but really isn't a destination. People aren't going to need to park here and spend several hours here. We wouldn't expect. This is at the keystone of Main Street, at the identified property on Main Street, which is key to our town and our Main Street. By the way, the East Lyme Main Street group is also paying into this park, and significantly is their intention. The red area that you see there, since we are going to talk about beautification tonight and where the money would go, that's a raised platform, about 2.5 to 3 feet high, about the height of where the railroad bed is. If you know, that's up higher if you're standing on the sidewalk at Pennsylvania Ave. You look into the railroad bed. We're going to bring that semicircle up. It includes a ramp on the left side. You see the stairs in the middle there, and on the bottom left, that's kind of a gradual ramp that will reach up. We'll be selling granite blocks for people who want to memorialize a legacy. There'll be 4 benches. There will not be a water fountain there. We don't want people bathing. It's not going to be a splash pad. We did look into it. But then it requires a filtration system. There's a high liability when it comes to a water fountain like that. So right now it will just be an inlaid circle, probably with a compass rose on it, probably with the latitude and longitude of that place in this world. Down at the bottom, you see it says "Welcome to Niantic." The subcommittee is still working on whether that will say that, or East Lyme, or just Niantic, or if a sign is needed at all. So we're still working on the details, and that stuff will come to you in this before the spring, when this draft becomes a final plan. But what we're trying to do is line up the funding for this, because what we don't want is to go through another summer with potential liability sitting out there with holes in the ground, and after the cleanup that will be okayed by DEEP, that when we go and get to work on this, that we have something to work with. So what you're considering tonight is not new funding, not new taxpayer money that was already appropriated and frankly bonded already. So sitting there ready to be spent on the purchase or remediation. If the remediation, when we meet with Deep, eats up the $120,000, then there will be no money here for the beautification. But the indications we have received are it'll be a couple truckloads of dirt.
We also have the option to apply for a Brownsfield remediation grant, which is the next phase, where the state actually pays for the cleanup, but it just takes a long time. So if it's a small job, we'd rather pay for it in-house and get the ball moving,
Right.
as opposed to working with the state and doing that route, taking 2 to 3 years.
Right.
So we're trying to leave our options open. After the meeting next week, we'll know exactly where we are.
Could you stay up there for a few minutes while we
Yeah,
have
probably a good
questions?
idea, Bill.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hardy, you can start the questions.
Thank you. Could you better define 2 spots?
I can't, because I have not seen a report. This was verbal in a phone call. We had a meeting planned for yesterday, and it was canceled. DEP could not attend, so I can't give you great detail until after the meeting next week. They said there was a minor amount of lead and a minor amount of volatile organic compound, which is petroleum-based. And the other thing is they think the lead may actually be from the railroad, not necessarily leaded gasoline. We'll get more detail next week. That's the best I can do.
And did I hear you correctly that the reason that we weren't eligible for the Brownfield grant after all is that there wasn't enough toxic material there?
No,
qualified?
we have a Brownfield assessment grant now. And we entered into a program, we entered into all these programs thinking we had pollution, a fair amount of pollution on the site. The site is actually coming back much cleaner than anybody thought, and they're thinking we may not need to be in these programs. Backing out of the programs and going a different route of just cleaning up the hot spots and being done. Like I said, that's why we have Weston and Sampson. They're the experts on this. I'm just reiterating my basic understanding of what they tell me in an hour-long phone call. That's why we have them, and they're going to come to explain it to us and work with DEP to go over this.
If this turned out to be more extensive, then, I mean, I've kind of got a vision of what 2 spots mean, but is it possible for us to get back into the Brownfield program?
Yes.
Or we have been excluded?
We are still in it.
Okay.
We're still in it. We're just meeting to go over our options to move up. We're in like 3 or 4 different programs right now. To back out of them, possibly stay in them. We haven't done anything. We haven't committed to anything yet. We're waiting for all the answers.
Thank you. Part of the unattractiveness of this location is the hideous Amtrak fencing.
Yes.
And I understand that early on there was some talk with Amtrak about possibly replacing.
We are going to replace the fence along that entire property.
We're going to do it.
We are going to do it, and we're going to own the fence from there on so that we don't have to rely on Amtrak to fix it.
And that's going to come out of this money.
Yes.
And or donations from the private sector,
The
correct?
the other
Right.
3 or 4.
But believe it or not, the best and most visually acceptable fence is 2-inch black coated chain link fence.
Right.
You can spend way more on much fancier fences that don't look near as good
You see right there.
or see-through.
Yeah.
So this is one of the rare instances when one of the cheapest options is the best.
Okay. All right. I think that's all of my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Salerno? Well,
I just have some thoughts and comments, but this is just a draft, and that's
Okay.
not what we're here for, so I'm not
Yeah,
going
it's
to go
not
into
the
that.
actual design. I just wanted to update
But I will
you.
feed some feedback to you
Sure,
on another time.
sure.
Um,
Folks?
Likewise,
Yeah, yeah.
comments on the draft.
Again, I just want to reiterate, this is not new spending. This is, because it's bonded money, we had to go back to the bond council and have it drawn up like it's a new bond. You've seen this paperwork before. Resolution making an appropriation in the amount of $139,520 for brownfield remediation. This is the language, but this is that $139,522 is exactly the amount that is left over from the $740,000 that we've already bonded.
Because originally, when this went to 2010, we originally thought that property was gonna cost us $740,000.
We thought we'd be buying it for,
So
the
we got it
agreed
for less
upon
money.
price at the time was $675,000.
Yeah,
And we ended up buying it for $550.
right, so we got to, yeah.
And usually I pay retail plus 10%. So for me to negotiate a good price is very rare. But in this case,
Okay.
it happened.
I'll move the following resolution. Resolved that the resolution entitled Resolution Making an Appropriation in the Amount of $139,522 for brownfield remediation and construction of park improvements and authorizing the issuance of $139,522 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. A copy of which is here to attached hereto, is hereby adopted and recommended for approval by the legal voters of the town at town meeting.
Second.
Motion second. Any further comment? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Terrific. This will go to Board of Finance in a town meeting in 2 weeks. We've done three. See, thank you, Bill, for all your expert. No, it's just it's a staff meeting. It's not a public hearing. Sign call.
Sign call. Town of East Lyme, notice of special town meeting. Notice is hereby given of a special town meeting of the Town of East Lyme to be held on September 20, 2017 at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at the East Lyme Town Hall for the following purposes. 1, to receive communications from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance with respect to a resolution entitled Resolution Making an Appropriation in the Amount of $139,522 for brownfield remediation and construction of park improvements and authorizing the issuance of $139,522 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. 2, to consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Making an Appropriation in the Amount of $139,522 for brownfield remediation and construction of park improvements and authorizing the issuance of $139,522 in bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. 3, to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $31,855 from CNRE Fund 32 to account 32-99-400-700-701 Board of Ed vehicles, and 4, to transact any other business proper to come before town meeting.
And we have one more. It was
Yeah.
added to the sign call.
Okay. Okay.
Where may have you put it?
Uh,
Help us out. What does it look like?
I don't think any of us have it in our packet.
Nope. Let me look back in mine. See if it's-
What was it on? To establish a CNRE account.
Okay.
She's going to get it.
I can just add the resolution.
No, wait. Just, is this it? No.
Okay,
Established in 4.
and 4, to establish a CNRE account for the purpose of acquiring police vehicles and equipment.
And then 5.
And then 5, to transact any other business proper to come before the town meeting. Copies of the proposed
Gotta know.
bond resolution is on file and open to the public inspection to Office of the Town Clerk, dated East Lyme, Connecticut, the 6th day of September, 2017, East Lyme Board of Selectmen.
Second.
Any comments? Sorry for the confusion, folks. We're scrambling this afternoon to get it all done. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? We'll move on to the appointment of Todd Bellucci to the Inland Wetlands Commission as an alternate member with a term to expire January 8th, 2018.
I'll move to appoint Todd Bellucci to the Inland Wetlands Commission as an alternate member with a term to expire on January 8th, 2018.
Second.
Any comments?
It's an impressive resume.
a very impressive resume. He should be a good addition. I will note, and we've had some concern that Mr. Bellucci is actually lives in a neighborhood where inland wetlands has just heard a case and is expected to hear the case again, and of course would need to abstain and recuse himself during that. And where he is an alternate member, I don't think that will be as much a concern. But we'll make sure we point out the legal issues with his appointment as soon as he gets sworn in. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
Abstain?
Okay. And we'll, next one.
Move to appoint Rodney McCauley to the Historic Properties Commission as a full voting member with a term to expire on January 8th, 2018.
Second?
Motion second. Any further comment? Is that why you're here tonight? Yeah, good entertainment. Right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Great. Great to bring more people onto the historic properties. And the appointment of Joan Bengtson?
Move to appoint Joan Bengtson to the Historic Properties Commission as a full voting member with a term to expire on January 8th, 2018.
Second?
It's been seconded. Joan has been a servant of this town, served on many different commissions, and it always puts her heart in the town and everything she does. It's great to see her. She's going to be a great asset on the historic properties. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? We have the resignation from Grant Place on the Cable Advisory Board. That is a hole that we would need to fill if anyone knows of any.
Excuse me,
Yes, ma'am?
that was filled by Mr. Place, who resigned, and that slot must be filled by someone from the Board of Ed, or it's the Board of Ed appointment for that slot. There are 3 slots on that commission.
Okay.
So it's my turn to be ex officio this month, and I
Good
will
for
bring
you.
it up to I'll bring it up to the Board of Ed.
Thank
It
you.
can be a Board of Ed member, or it may be a staff member, but that position is their call.
Thank you, Mrs. Hardy. Again, you showed how valuable you are here, because we would never have remembered that. So thank you for moving that to the Board of Ed, for them to fill that. We do have a resignation from the Inland Wetlands Commission, David Pizzalia, who moved out of town. And a thank you letter is in your packet, I believe, from Matthew Bauman. Eric, his dad, serves on the Board of Ed, and Matthew is a recipient of I believe, our scholarship. We'll move to ex officio reports. Should we start down to the right and move to the left?
Sure. I had planning last night. It was actually fairly quick because the Twin Lakes application was pulled. And there was just an approval of a 2-lot subdivision up on 197 Upper Patagonia Road. And then there was some discussion about reducing the Orchards bond. There's a bond in place for public improvements, notably the roads, and some of the roads are being completed, so they're asking us, part of the process, to have some of that relieved. Dan and I have met last month with our purchasing subcommittee, with our brethren from the Board of Finance. We met with Anna last time. She gave us a lot of good guidance and clarification and understanding of where she was coming from in the initial document that they gave us. So we plan on having another meeting probably the next couple of weeks to continue this, and that's all I have.
Mrs. Hardy?
I'm all set.
Mr. Salerno?
He already went.
Do you want me to go again?
Mr. Siri?
Usually you only want me to go once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
usually. Once is enough.
We're having name problems here tonight. I've
Yeah,
noticed.
sorry.
Oh, anyway, just Parks and Rec had a meeting. Dave covered a lot of the events of the summer, but I'm sure you're going to probably cover that in your report about the concerts and so forth. It was a great summer at McCook's with the band concerts. Now they've moved into the Friday night movies for youngsters. They had the camp out last weekend where I think they had 18 families pitch tents and spend the night at McCook's and watch a movie. So it's been a very good year for Parks and Rec. We still get comments from people who come to our town, use our facilities, saying, God, this is just fantastic. You know, our towns, we wish we had facilities this good. So that's it for my report. And I did cover a town school building committee meeting for Mark. The thing of note that is they did add one thing to the project. They're going to add new fire alarm systems at all 3 buildings, which is a necessity. It's about $500,000 in total cost, which is a lot, but the current fire alarm systems, they can't even get parts if some of them fail. So obviously that's something that needs to be done, and they said it was the first, oops, we overlooked this. So that's it.
Terrific. Mr. Cunningham?
Let's see, Smith Harris House, the bike and barbecue event, I believe, is going to be October 1st. They're hosting it there, and it's a fundraiser for some of the other, they'll be shared with other historic properties in town. So that should be a nice event, and they're very enthusiastic about it. And as was reflected in the agenda, we've now got the Historic Properties Commission back up, fully staffed. And I just want to publicly comment and thank Barbara Johnson-Lowe for the tremendous work she's done stepping up and serving as the chairperson of that commission. She's done a great job and really pulling it together.
During difficult times.
Yes,
Yeah, so
very
thank
good.
you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara. I've talked with her on a number of occasions and echo what you said.
And that's it from me.
Mr. Daigle?
Start with Inland Wetlands Agency, as previously commented on. They denied the application for the Twin Valley development on Green Valley Lakes and Spring Rock Roads during their August 28th, probably the 5th meeting they had on that application. The Harbor Management Commission had a special meeting to discuss the application for the oyster and scallop farm on the East Lyme, on the Niantic River. And they just made it clear that the entire farm location is in the Waterford waters. None of it is in the East Lyme waters.
Right.
So I just wanted to share that with everybody. And then finally, Board of Education, they did approve to enter a contract with Malone and Ms. Broom for redistricting assessment for the elementary schools. They in the amount of $25,750. They did negotiate a third meeting into that, support of a third public meeting. And also, if there's a need for any additional meetings, they'll be at a cost of only $900 per additional meetings as they work to communicate the findings of that redistricting study. And finally, they provided an update on the elementary school project. The state has suggested that more meetings be held to work through that project, and they also discouraged the space standards waiver. So that's being kicked back and forth between the Board of Ed and the state, which would potentially affect, the amount of reimbursement we'd get from the state of Connecticut for the project. So nothing final yet, but something that they're working on. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just tick off a few things that are going on and are on my mind. The police building item that was on our executive session, again, was not anything about purchasing the police building. I think little birdies sometimes are wrong. I will tell you, and I told you all that we had to be stricken from the executive session because it didn't belong there, but I was just going to update you. And the update is the AC equipment on that building is gone, is died. And they're going to suffer through the last couple of weeks of the hot weather, but we're going to be looking at a $40,000 to $50,000 new system in that building before we talk about installation, just the unit. So we'll. That was just an update I wanted to give you on that. We're not buying the police building. Again, sometimes rumors get out of hand, and we'll leave it there. I gave you a handout in your folder. This is a letter that I penned back to Secretary Ben Barnes of the Office of Policy Management. As you know, the state is struggling through their budget, and I'll tell you what, I feel for Senator Formica, Representative Hawley, Cheeseman, and everybody else that's involved in this. It's such a difficult process this year because the numbers are so tight and the politics is so raw. But the state was looking to towns and asking us, what the harm would be if they cut our funding, and we kind of tried to spell it out to them how devastating it would be. And the longer they go, the more devastating it is. We're, by the way, and so you know, the state, I think the House has called a session for next Thursday, which is an indication they'll be calling a vote for the budget. So next Thursday, what I've been told by Senator Formica in a conversation I had earlier this evening was that nobody wants to get to October 1st and have the governor's budget take effect, including the governor. Frankly, I think that he used that as a motivational piece, and let's hope it only is that. What I've also read and been told is the extreme nature of the governor's budget, namely a full $9 million cut to the town of East Lyme, is much more extreme than we would ever expect from any budget come out of the legislature. That nobody is in favor of cutting all town aid to any town in the state. More to come on that, and I've been reluctant to speak deeply into the budget process because it's not our business, and when it's done and it's handed down to us, we'll make the necessary cuts and the necessary moves, and we'll survive through this. Today I was made vice chair of the Emergency Management Planning Team of the State of Connecticut's Emergency Management and Homeland Security Group. I guess I showed up at the meeting early and sat in the wrong seat, and now I'm vice chair and probably someday chair of that illustrious group. That is the Region 4 group that does plan all this emergency management. And actually, frankly, as a citizen coming into this, I've always spoken so highly of and amazing how these groups come together, and how after spending time in that emergency management center that we have here and watching them all to work together in the region, how impressed I am, and how I know that our emergency management team has our backs. I've been working with Old Lyme for there's a plan to have Old Lyme sewers down the beach section come through East Lyme. I've been working hard on that. Discussions also are still underway with Bonnie Ream-Snyder about the possibility of regionalizing our police forces into one force that would cover both towns. We share equal, similar demographics and similar risks and similar issues, especially with summer traffic. There's a lot of synergy there, but there'll be and both towns would get a lot out of it with, I don't think, any added expense. We had a great Labor Day weekend, especially Labor Day. The beaches were full, and we took a little break. The kids, of course, are back to school, and it's nice to see people post all their pictures on social media, and it's kind of cool to get back into our autumn routines, as much as we don't want the great weather to leave us. The Save the River, Save the Hills kayak regatta went off splendidly. What a great group of people, what a great cause, what a great event. Representative Joe Courtney came. Of course, Senator Formica was there, myself, and Holly Cheeseman, and but just a great group of people who are nature lovers, but also Gotcha Hills lovers, and it's great to see those people come together. I went to a presentation on the rebuilding of the planetarium in this school. I saw Selectman Salerno there, and it's great. It's a grassroots